We're
so they couldn't
joining
send a
Jerry Agar
requirement to
show on
pay
News Talk
notice to your
1010, where
employer.
we are
I'm Doug
discussing
Hoyes.
motorcycle collisions and people being at fault for stuff. Just putting that on the record. And my audio is lower than normal, and I don't know why. Just don't know. Okay. Nobody's listening, by the way. We're not live on TikTok this morning, in case you're wondering. It's just us.
The Jerry Agar Show continues on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
And I welcome in our friend, the TikTok traffic cop, Sean Shapiro. By the way, this is not one of those regular deals where he's on with us and on TikTok at the same time. His regular TikTok appearance will start at 10 o'clock this morning at Traffic Services. He's just joining me because he's a cop and because he's a motorcycle rider on a story that tells us, after investigation into many, many accidents, who's generally at fault if there's an accident involving a motorcycle driver. And they're looking here at the real serious accidents with death. And they're saying at just above 60% of the time, it is the fault of the motorcycle rider. Sean Shapiro, welcome. And are you surprised by that?
I can't say that I'm surprised. There's a lot going on, as you know, with motorcycle riders and between different experiences and different types of riders. So 50-50 or 60-40, not surprising.
All right. Well, it had to do, they say, with excessive speed, failing to yield to traffic, and driver inattention. And I see motorcyclists on the streets of Toronto and the highways, especially the really busy ones. If you're at the 401 or the Gardiner or something, those people who are traffic is moving at, let's say, 90 and they want to go 130 and zip, zip, zip between the traffic. And then when something goes wrong, they want to think that it's everybody else's fault. There's a lot of irresponsible motorcycle riders out there.
There's irresponsible drivers of all kinds, and definitely motorcycle riders as well. And we see it; they stick out because they happen to be in different vehicles, so we notice them. When I'm on the road and I see people filtering through traffic, weaving through at a high rate of speed, that's stunt driving. It's certainly dangerous, and it leads to collisions. Very often, speed is a factor in those collisions, and a simple loss of control, because we have a lot of people who think they know how to ride but don't actually know how to ride, and unfortunately, bad things happen when that takes place.
Well, I took a motorcycle course in order to get the license, and it turns out, the smartest thing I did. They started me out in a little 250, which you can pretty much pick up. Like, you can hardly fall off of those things because they're so small. But that was the idea, and they forced us to do all kinds of obstacle courses and things this was in Kansas City, under 15 miles an hour, because the instructor said, once you get above 15 miles an hour, a bike becomes a gyroscope to a certain degree, and it fools inexperienced people into thinking that they are riding a motorcycle. They're not. The motorcycle is taking them down the road.
Absolutely. There's a big difference between riding and having it go and do its own thing. And slow speed riding is where the skill comes in. Anyone can go fast. We do, as professional police riders, we do all sorts of obstacle courses in slow speed maneuverability. If you look at police rodeo videos on YouTube, you'll be amazed at what we can do. But that's where the skill really kicks in. And we absolutely suggest that every rider takes a professional course.
My motorcycle guru, Kenny, is the guy that, I'm going to be riding with him in a group that he put together, again, coming up in a few weeks here when I take a vacation. And I sent this article to him. Over 60% of motorcycle accidents, it's the motorcycle rider's fault. And he only sent back one thing, Sean, the thumbs up emoji.
Oh, my.
I mean, he's never done anything but sell motorcycles, repair motorcycles, race motorcycles. He is all about the motorcycle, but he would not argue with anything that you've said or that article, that people get themselves into trouble. And that leads to people sending a text question in here, Sean, and that is, what is the law in Ontario regarding lane splitting on a motorcycle?
It's careless driving. Depending on what it's combined with, if that lane splitting is done at high speed, that could even be stunt driving if they're weaving in and out of traffic and so on. But the deal is that it's not legal. It's not safe. In some jurisdictions, it is. In Los Angeles, for instance, you can do it legally, but not here.
I think how it works, Sean, in Los Angeles is you can do it legally on the highway if the traffic speed has dropped below a certain speed.
That may be the case. And there's lane filtering, there's lane splitting. Lane splitting is where people are doing it at speed. Lane filtering is when it comes to a stop and you're going through slower traffic or non-moving traffic. And it really depends. Neither are legal here. But it's just not safe. If you can't trust other drivers on the road to be safe in normal situations without the filtering, why would you do it? Going between in small spaces and hoping that they don't do something erratic or dangerous. That's a whole separate issue. Very often we have people who don't notice the motorcycle. They turn in front of us and cut us off. Many people and I have been involved in collisions that way. And then there's a smaller group of people who truly stunt drive, wheelies and such. Folks who lose control of their vehicles and somehow manage to find a pole, the only pole in the street, and unfortunately don't usually come out of that very well.
I got my motorcycle in Shawnee, Kansas. It's a suburb of Kansas City at a place called Shawnee Cycle. And I hadn't been riding very long. And I was on the way over to the cycle shop and I saw a guy in traffic up on the back wheel, just riding along. It wasn't like he just went up on the back wheel for a second and went back down. And you don't have control really of your bike then. If anything happens, you can't steer it because you're up on the back. And I said to the owner of the motorcycle shop that I had seen this. And I said he was driving in busy traffic up on one wheel. And the guy was walking past me kind of, and as he kept going, he just said, yeah, he won't do that for long.
Well, that's the thing. It tends to be a self-correcting issue, but unfortunately, it's not a good way to go. We want people to arrive alive, to get where they're going safely, and we want motorcycling to be a hobby and mode of transportation that's enjoyed by many in a safe way. Unfortunately, many of the people who get involved with the sport don't have the sufficient training and or just want to go fast and be cool, and unfortunately, that ends very badly. We want people to take those courses and become proficient riders and be part of that community on the road where we are being safe for one another.
I have never seen, and this is anecdotal, I'm just saying, I can't remember seeing a motorcyclist pulled over by the cops.
Well, it happens, and I've been one of them who's done it. I was a motor squad officer until the day of my collision back in 2018, where someone pulled out of a parking lot, crossed in front of a stopped vehicle waiting for a light, and pulled right in front of me as I was approaching a red light. It can happen to anyone, even a professional rider.
Sean Shapiro is with me, not one of his regular segments where we take on your questions, but talking about that research and Blog TO today to take a bit of a turn here, Sean. Rules for gas-powered bicycles. Are they legal to own? They are. Are they legal on the street? They say the answer is it depends, and that's what leads to the confusion. So what would be sort of your thumbnail version of if you have a gas-powered bicycle, what cannot you do?
Gas-powered bicycles, that's where you take those kits and convert a mountain bike, let's say, to a gas-powered mountain bike. It is not covered under any e-bike legislation. It's a motor vehicle, requires license ownership and insurance, as well as a motorcycle license to operate it. And you can't actually plate those vehicles. They're going to be for your own private property use only. You can't take it on the road. No parks, no sidewalks, no nowhere.
Okay, I think I saw one this morning. I mean, it was down the street as I was walking in the dark and early to come into the radio station. But I thought, well, that guy's not pedaling that thing, and it didn't look like an e-bike to me, so I wasn't exactly sure what I was seeing.
There's a lot of confusion and misinformation there. People will have you believe that if it's under 50 cc's that it's legal, and that's not the case. It's not legal. It is equivalent of a moped, except a moped has passed the Transport Canada regulations and has been issued a VIN number and can be licensed and insured for the road. And again, even mopeds, the rules changed, I think, back in 2008, where it used to be a G-class license to operate them, but now it's a motorcycle license or a low-powered motorcycle license.
Well, those things can get up to speed.
Absolutely. And most of the arguments we get are, well, e-bikes can do it. What's the difference if it's gas-powered? Well, legislation allows for electric versions that are limited to 32 kilometers an hour, but there is no provision for the gas-powered versions. And they don't look safe. I've pulled these vehicles over. Some of them look like they have weed whacker engines on them.
Well, so what you're saying is that this is a do-it-yourself project that when people have gas-powered bicycles.
Absolutely, and if you look at some of these vehicles, they're very much a homemade thing. They don't look safe, and they have not been approved.
All right. Well, it's Friday the 13th, so it's a big motorcycle day in Ontario coming up.
Absolutely, and for the people who are going, I hope they have a great, safe time. No drugs or alcohol if you're going to be riding a bike. It's even more, dangerous than it's dangerous all around. Don't drink and drive. Don't ride impaired. But I hope that the people who are driving safely and going out there to have some good time do have a good time.
I hope they do have a good time, and I hope it's good for business. I hope it's good for fun. I hope it all works out. And this is just me personally, but I don't go to those things. People ask me if I go to Sturgis for that kind of stuff. I was out with my motorcycle group, and we were sort of in the neighborhood neighborhood of Sturgis, and we avoided it because it's not really about riding motorcycles. It's about sitting around and, I don't know, doing whatever.
I used to go to Americade. I've been to Americade a few times to some great lead rides through some beautiful routes, but it's a lot of people in a small space, and if you want to buy stuff for your bike, it's a great place to go, and I don't think I'll be going back for a long time.
Sean Shapiro will be going on Twitter at 10 o'clock for his regular appearance, your questions, etc. Your TikTok traffic cop at Traffic Services on TikTok. Sean Shapiro, we'll talk again soon. Thanks very much.
All the best. Take care.
All right, and whatever you're driving, gas is expensive. I'll tell you how we can help with that coming up in a moment. And can you stay calm and carry on? That's next on the iHeartRadio